Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Soulflower Show. I'm Deborah Prinzing. I'm so excited today to welcome Erin Webb of Florista of West Olive, longtime Soulflowers member who I've been wanting to share her story with you. So, welcome, Erin.
Hi, Deborah. So glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. Okay, first of all, what's a florista? I think I know, but I love the name.
So the name Florista, so a couple of different pieces came together, but I like to think of it as like a florist and a barista combined. But it's also a special name to me because I studied Spanish in college. So Florista also means florist. So yeah, the two things combined is how I came up with the name. And yeah, we kind of went from there. Me and my sister um, thought of it together, but she's out of town, so we don't do it together. But she at least helps me with that piece.
She's your consultant.
She is, she really is. She does pottery for me. She does all sorts of stuff, so she helps
Oh,
with a lot of pieces.
what's her name?
Her name's Sophia. Um, Sophia Timmer. She's out of Colorado right now because her husband's in the military. But how we kind of got started was I talked to her about wanting to start some kind of farming business, and she was like, "Have you heard of like cut flower farms and how all of that goes?" And so then I looked into it a little more and realized that you can do it on a lot smaller scale than blueberry farming because I have family in blueberries, and that's kind of in the area I'm in. There's the fruit belt, and there's tons of blueberries, cherries, all sorts of different kind of fruit here in Michigan. And yeah, so that was kind of the origin of really starting. We call it dream weaving, is what we called it. As we would sit there and just talk about different dreams that we had, and yeah, she's always a good one to talk about because she doesn't like, sometimes you're talking with someone and they tell you all of the negative pieces. That's not her. She'll tell you like, oh yeah, then you could do this, and we just kind of all these different ideas, and then see what
Hmm.
actually happens.
We all need a Sophia in our lives because
You
we
really
we
do.
there's enough people telling you what you can't do. I love it that somebody is of lifting you up. So
Yes,
sisterhood,
absolutely.
true sisterhood. Well, Erin, you mentioned all the fruit area, the fruit basket, and where are you in Michigan, and where is West Olive, in relation to other landmarks?
Yeah, so I'm in Western Michigan. Let's see if we can always put our little mitten hand up. So for the camera, so we're on the west side, and we're about kind of low southern Michigan, and right in between Holland and Grand Haven.
Okay,
It's right smack dab right on the lake shore. So I'm about 2 minutes from Lake Michigan
wow,
driving.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that you have horticulture and growing in your family history. You read a really nice story about it on your website. So, is that kind of why you felt comfortable starting a flower farm? Like you didn't have to go to school and that sort of thing?
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, I didn't study anything in college regarding horticulture, Spanish and business, which was great, but I use it a little bit. I use the business and then a little bit of the Spanish here and there. But I um, I grew up with around farming, but my actual family history starts a little earlier than that. So my great grandpa started a nursery. And it became a pretty large nursery, a plant nursery, not a children's nursery. So I have to make that clarification for non-plant people sometimes. Um, where he would do a lot of landscaping plants, specifically yews was kind of where he got started, and then he kind of added different landscaping plants from there. And then my grandpa, with along with a business partner, took over that business eventually. And then my dad worked for that nursery. It was called Zillington Nursery for the longest time, and then they ended up selling. My dad just worked there; he didn't ever take it over, but he has his own now he has his own small nursery that, well, we would consider small. I don't know. It depends on the context, but maybe about 10 greenhouses. Um, so he has a small nursery, and he's had that since I was a little kid. And I would go over and work with the different landscaping plants, mostly like arborvitae, perennials, like day. I remember like weeding fields of daylilies as a kid. So There's like I can't remember a time that I wasn't working with some kind of plant, and don't get me started on barberries where they would just scratch your whole arm up. You're like, you better wear long sleeves that day if you're going to go to work with those. But yeah, just all sorts of different landscaping plants. So it's definitely exposed to that side of things. Nothing for cut flower production. At that time, it was all, and even with talking with my dad, he's like, have you looked into these? I'm like, well, that'll wilt in a day. So he definitely has a different specialty, but
But it is translatable in that you know how plants operate. You know how to like keep them
yeah.
alive. And I think I talked to many people who had some kind of gardening or horticulture or farming upbringing where they felt like it was a punishment to have to go weed, and now like full circle you're doing it again. Do you feel like sometimes when you're out weeding you're like, wow, I never thought I'd be doing what I did as a kid? Or does it feel really like a good fit, like you finally found your purpose, your creative outlet?
Yeah, I think for me now it's I feel like there's so much when you work a desk job, because I worked before, after college and before I started my own business, I worked a desk job. And when you work a desk job, it makes you realize, okay, nope, that wasn't so bad. Sometimes sitting all day can be hard. It depends on the person, but for me, sitting all day is harder, I think, than getting out and moving my body and, doing things like weeding. So you kind of reappreciate something once you don't have it in your life anymore.
Yeah.
But I would say you're right. It is a full circle. I wouldn't have, yeah, I wouldn't have really guessed that. But at the same time, even when I wasn't working in horticulture, I had a small house in Indiana for a little while, and what was one of the first things I did was rip out a section and put in a garden and then re-landscape the whole house. So, and then I started, selling at farmers markets some of my dad's plants in Indiana. So it's like I couldn't get away from it either way. I always dipped my toe back in some capacity. Um, but yeah, it is full circle because you do hate those jobs at the beginning, but come to appreciate them later.
So when did you start Florista officially? And did you start as a farmer florist or just a farmer? Like, how did you blend your design interest into the growing side?
Yeah, so I started in 2019, right after I had my son, and I quit my corporate job. I really wanted to be able to do something where I could be with my kids as well. So that was another aspect. Farming felt very comfortable for me, just because of my background, and then I feel like I could be with my kids more doing that way, especially starting out slowly. So, and I wasn't sure where it would go. From the farmer florist. I think originally my idea was kind of like you see wine and canvas events. My original idea was to kind of do that, get into that a little bit more, and then it's just evolved more because I didn't see wedding work as what I would be doing. Um, but my little sister kind of trained me in uh, some floral design. Again, she comes back to it because she took classes at a local tech center doing some floral design in high school. And so she just showed me the basics, like you want to clean the stems and kind of, and we started out with, floral foam and the whole thing, what they teach kind of at the tech center. And then obviously after listening to your podcast, got away from a lot of that. But um, she kind of showed me the basics to design. And then when you're a crafter growing up, because that was like me and again, my little sister were crafters, like our rooms would be full of just pieces of paper, every little thing. So it's like, oh, okay, I can do this. This is like, I'm going to put everything together. I know my medium now, and now I'm just going to like keep
Hmm.
taking it, keep doing it and doing it and doing it until I get better. So, yeah, that's definitely where the design side came in. And then,
Is that the same
oh, go
sister?
ahead.
The same sister who gave you the name, Sophia? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
love it. I love it. So, it sounds like the farm allowed you to kind of shape the business, try some things out, but then eventually, it sounds like you're doing mostly growing and wedding and event design. Is that fair to say?
I would say so. I would say mostly, yeah, it's a kind of a hybrid between the two, but I would say growing flowers on my own property, and then I do, and the flowers that I grow, I try to use in the weddings that I do. I'll probably do. right now I'm averaging between like 8 and 15 weddings a summer, so anywhere in there. So still fairly small operation. And then I have subscriptions, flower subscriptions that I'll do a monthly delivery arrangement, and I will also do a farmers market in Holland. So between all of those, my flowers get used up. I always feel like, oh, I got to get more planted because I always need more. But
You filmed a video for us, a video tour of your growing area. I know it's, still, I think you filmed it maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, so it's still a little bit early, but you have a lot of acreage. I mean, for a residential farm. I mean, you live there, right?
yes, I live on my farm. It's so funny for me calling it a farm because it feels like a garden, but that's really what it is. It is a farm. Um, but yeah, I haven't measured it completely because I also have pockets of perennials and then I have pockets of an annual cutting garden. So I would say, yeah, if between everything, maybe I grow on like a little less than an acre. But my cutting garden, I believe, is somewhere between my annual cutting garden maybe 100 feet by 50 feet,
Hmm.
somewhere in there. But yeah, don't quote me on the exact acreage there. I need to get my husband to help me measure because he's a lot more accurate on
I
that
can't
stuff.
I can't people will see it and they'll get it because
Yeah,
I noticed you're right. There's areas that are very much like beds and borders that are more ornamental, and then maybe because of where the sun falls, you've got the fenced in area with the
yeah.
raised beds and the production growing basically, right?
Right. Yep. Yep. So stuff that I kind of have it separated into like perennials that are a lot more hands off and it's kind of a one and done. They grow once and I cut them. And then I have my annual cutting garden where I'm constantly rotating crops through there and trying to find things that, obviously there's some stuff where it's like, okay, that's worth it to have it as a one and done. But yeah, just stuff that is cut and come again
Well,
more.
you're in Michigan, so what zone are you in? Zone
I
5?
am Yeah, zone five, kind of toggle between 5 and 6, I would
Okay.
say, because
Okay.
I think we're a little bit of a microbiome where I'm at. Since I'm so close to the lake, we kind of stay a little warmer in the winter and stay a little cooler in the summer. So
Mhm.
I think that changes ours.
Well, it probably helps with your early spring crops that you maybe are getting your bulb crops, blooming a little earlier than somewhere, in the center of the state, for example. Like I noticed you had a lot of beautiful tulips, and I can't remember if you had ranunculus or not. But talk about, when does your season start, and what are your first crops?
Yeah, so season starts mid-April currently. I don't have I do most everything outside. I have a really small hoop house and then I have a small greenhouse that I'll get annual started in. But for the most part, everything is outside. Um, and I'm still working on getting the hoop house to function properly for good production. So I'll start with some daffodils in mid-April, but I really don't have a ton of outlet for those. So a lot of times they're growing and they're very pretty. And if somebody calls for an arrangement, I'll get them together. But a lot of those don't move very well because my market doesn't start until May. And so then after daffodils, kind of move into tulips and then some flowering branches and things like that. But I would say tulips are the heavy hitter for me, um, late April, early May, just kind of starts like maybe the last week of April is the earliest I'll get them. I'm not sure if you've heard of tulip time in Holland at all. So it's specific to Holland, which is a city just south of me, and it's beautiful. If you haven't been, it's like a major event. I'll have to send you after this as well, just their social media, so you can kind of look at it. But I mean, this is like a long-standing festival that they've had for like people come in buses, like it's a big bus trip type of a deal, and they have in the city they have tulips just planted everywhere, like every corner of the city, and so people kind of walk and look at the different types of tulips. They have a place called Windmill Island in Holland that has a full just um, yeah, it's just got full fields of tulips for people to come walk through. And then there's other small pockets of businesses that kind of go off of that tourism that goes around here for Holland. But it's it's really beautiful. But yeah, it's usually the first week of May they'll have tulip time. here. So people are very into their tulips around here. So having them for production obviously is a really good thing. So
Being in a town called Holland, I get it. Like it's sort of
yeah,
maybe there were early Dutch settlers who felt that the growing conditions were pretty similar to the Netherlands, or
yes,
that's why it's been there so long.
yes. That really is the history. You hit the nail on the head. So Dutch settlers brought tulip bulbs over.
So, Erin, what are you? Do you participate in Tulip Time, or it sounds like it's also coinciding with Mother's Day, which is probably when you're getting a lot of
hmm
demand for tulips.
Yeah, so I don't have anything formally with them. There is a festival I could join to sell tulips if I wanted to, but I haven't done that yet just because it is such a busy time of the year that I just don't know if I have capacity to physically be there at this point since I kind of do most of it on my own. I'll have
Yeah.
family help here and there, but yeah, so far I haven't had the capacity. But I do try to do a flower arrangement event with one of my cousins who does jewelry. Well, it's called Bracelets and Bouquets, and we do that right around Mother's Day, and that coincides with tulip time. So this year was nice because they actually listed um, our event on the tulip time page. So then people who were from out of town and looking for something to do were able to see us there and then find our event and come to it. So that was really neat to be able to have it like a little piece of our what we do here for tulip time
Oh,
and
it's a
be part
great
of it.
that great collaboration makes me think of your original comment of wanting to do the wine and canvas thing. So you found this creative a hybrid of arranging flowers and making jewelry, which I'm sure
Yeah.
it's the same. It's basically the same customer who wants to do both, right?
Right. It's true. It's the yeah the same customer, and then even having it at Mother's Day, it's so fun to have the moms. We had one group that came through this year was a mom, a daughter, and a grandma. So three generations kind of coming in, being able to arrange flowers, and that was really sweet to see their pictures and everything afterwards. But yeah, it's a super fun event that we put on in the spring, and we keep kind of adding things to it. Like we have shopping and so that for us that's a big ordeal. I mean, it's a small event, but it's still we put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, and you're going to get these repeat customers too now that you've done it for a few years.
Yeah,
So is the area I don't know if the right term destination wedding area, or where are what kind of wedding demands or requests are you getting? Are they more for local people or people traveling to the area? How do your weddings shake out for the summer?
yeah. So I would say they are a mixture. Thankfully, I've had really wonderful wedding clients, and I get a lot of word of mouth recommendations from people who are local. And that's kind of how I got started into weddings. Was my sister again, the one who I keep talking about, my sister Sophia. Since she did some floral arrangements, and she did my wedding flowers actually. So she had some design experience doing that, and then she's like, "Hey, I have a friend who asked if I would do her flowers." So then she's like, "How about you help me and you can kind of learn through doing some experience." And so I did that. I think I did that wedding, and then I helped her with one more for another friend that same summer, which was in 2019. And then she got married that summer, did hers. So anyway, that was kind of those were like word of mouth local weddings that I would get started into, and then honestly, even from those, still get people who were like, "Oh, you did so and so's wedding. Can you do this one?" So then we also have, I would say, regional destination kind of weddings. So
Okay.
there's one spot that's down the road from me. It's called Camp Blodgett. They're a wedding venue, and I'll do a lot of weddings there because they're so close, and they have me listed as a vendor on their website. And those clients a lot of times are from out of town, and they'll actually the one thing if you're someone out there looking to start a wedding, actually just a flower farm or a florist business, put something with florist in the name because people just Google florist in West Olive and my name will pop up.
You
So
own that name, Florist in West
yeah,
Olive. I love it. That's smart. Yeah. So
right,
you're getting people who are looking for your region, but also are you getting people who are looking for local
right.
flowers, or is that so much of it, or are you having to kind of tell people, hey, I grow these flowers too?
I would say there's definitely some people who are like super interested in the local flowers aspect, but I think it comes with when once I tell them, hey, I try to use everything as much as possible locally grown within my growing season or West Michigan's growing season. And then they're okay. I've had a couple clients who are like, no, I want what I want, and then they'll go elsewhere, which I'm totally fine with. Um, but for the most part, I would say most people are like really excited when I tell them these are local flowers, and
You mentioned there were a number of flower farmers in the area. So that region that you're in, and you said Western Michigan, is that a, kind of becoming more of not just for fruit, but now also for flowers?
it's just there's a few similar size farms to mine that I will source some things from, and then there's a few bigger ones that I've started to get to know. There's a group that on Facebook that has some different flower farmers that I've been getting connected with. And actually, a few of the, like what you were saying, a few fruit farmers do flowers as well. There's one that I can think of off the top of my head up in Sparta, Michigan, that she does um, both flowers and apple farming, which is
Oh,
really cool. And I've
fun.
ordered from her a couple of times last summer. I ordered from her. It was cool to see her operation kind of combining the two. Um, so I do think that does happen. And then even with the fruit, my grandparents have and my dad have blueberry farms, and I'll cut blueberry branches actually through all different parts of the season and add them to arrangements as well. And that's kind of a neat touch as well.
Oh my gosh, I love it. People love fruiting branches, but blueberries especially. Oh, that color, I bet it's great. Well, you're probably
Red.
harvesting them early. There's a little bit green, right? Because that's I've heard that that's the trick.
Well, and I'll kind of they actually stay really nicely in the vase, which I've been surprised about for blueberries. So sometimes I'll have them. I really do harvest at different times of the year to put them in the vase. Um, Maybe a few blue ones, and I'll try to let people know, hey, you're in late August. I'll harvest. We might have some blueberries, but they're gonna fall off, especially if it's a wedding. And I'm like, they might fall off. I don't want your dress to get stained. But they'll still stay nicely in the vase. The berries just will start falling off later in the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're really pretty. Even before they start getting buds, there'll be this like pink color on the branches,
Yeah.
and then they'll start to get the white flowers, the green berries, and then obviously the blueberries, and then even the leaves will turn like a reddish color. So for a fall wedding, they'll still work.
Oh my gosh, you're so lucky you have that mother load of blueberries at your fingertips, and you're not taking like a whole plant. So your family
Yes,
blueberry farmers are saying, sure, just harvest carefully.
I'll typically go to my dad's because he's the one who's like, yeah, go cut them. I don't mind as much. I try to be respectful of anybody else's in the family. So I really try to make sure that and I try to take like one branch from a plant so we're not like cutting down the whole thing. But they do come back really well
Yeah.
the next year, and you actually do have to prune them anyway in the usually in the fall or the spring.
I love it. So you also did a design demo for us. So we'll show the video of the little farm tour that you've narrated, and then the design demo after we wrap up here. Is there anything you want to say about the design demo that people should keep an eye out for? This is like hyper seasonal because you just did it this week, right?
And I've tried for especially for arrangements that somebody calls. I'll get people calling the week of and say, hey, can you do a delivery arrangement? And this is kind of typically the type of thing that I'll do. And I'll let them know this is going to be a seasonal arrangement. If you have a color preference, let me know. I'll just cut what's in season and try to put something similar together for my customers. And yeah, I would say that if you're somebody who's getting into design just to get started and um, try it out because you'll find your own design style. I know that um, I'm always still kind of picking up new techniques and learning. And yeah, there's a different. I think people do different styles, but I love seeing how all that comes together. And this is one that I'll do with at that bracelets and bouquets events that I had talked about earlier. We'll do a similar arrangement. I call it a bowl arrangement. I'm not sure if there's a better term for it, but we'll put that together and everybody's will have the same ingredients, but they'll all look different somehow. And it's really cool to see how you can still be creative with anything that you have in your garden, even if you have landscaping plants, and you can cut it and put something together.
Yeah, you're giving people permission to cut up their gardens. I love it.
Yes, do
So,
it.
so as the season goes on, what are your like strong stars of the cutting garden in late summer into fall? Because I obviously you will have a frost eventually, right?
Right, right. Yeah, so once right now we've got a lot of lilies coming down the line is next. So I've been working on my hardy annuals. So those are just finishing up and then we're getting into some of the annuals starting. Some status. I planted a lot of that this year. The heavy hitter is dahlias for sure, get
Hmm.
coming late summer. And honestly, I try some of the stuff that's more difficult to cultivate, I would say, doesn't necessarily sell. The dahlias, in my opinion, have been the easier one to work with. Obviously, there's things you have to learn. There's a little bit of a learning curve with watching out for disease and dividing the tubers, all of that. But once you get into the groove, those ones really move at farmers markets and honestly, even wedding work, people love them.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, dahlias for sure. I have and then I'll just kind of keep cutting a lot of the same stuff like cosmos and status and some flowering tobacco that I'm excited about. Just looking, I missed it last year. I didn't plant it, and I'm doing some this
Oh,
year.
I love that so
Uh,
much.
yeah, it's so delicate and pretty.
It's perfect for event work too because people just want something that's very ephemeral and
Hmm.
has movement and you can't ship it. Like it's something that only can come from a local farm. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I've had even other, I don't have a ton of other florists that work with me, but I have a couple. And yeah, I've sold to a florist and she was like, yeah, I really love these. And it's fun to find those people who appreciate some of the blooms that, yeah, you can't ship in. I mean,
Mm,
even dahlias sometimes are hard to ship. So I'll get some orders for that as
for
well.
sure. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So
So it's sort of like you've got, I don't know, a 7 or 8 month season. And then in the fall, are you just going heavy into garden cleanup and planting your bulbs and meeting with brides, or do you take some time off in the cold winter of Michigan?
yeah, so once we hit October, our frost date is supposed to be right around October 18 is our when we're supposed to get our first frost. And it's hit or miss. October is always a finicky month for us. It's like it could be October 3rd or it could be, into November. So but yeah, I'll especially my dahlias, I'll keep cutting those right up until it frosts pretty much. And then, yeah, it kind of shifts over to garden cleanup. I'll dig up my dahlias, I'll get those cleaned up and just clean up the garden as much as possible. Start planting bulbs because my bulbs will usually ship first week of October. Um, so, and every year I try to ramp up my tulip production because, yeah, there's the nice part. I mean, I know a lot of listeners probably already know is you can cold store your tulips um, with the bulb attached still. So that helps me kind of get through my spring by doing that. So I definitely order a lot of tulips to get going on kind of the spring end. But yeah, there's a lot of work in October. And I do try to take a break through the winter months, but then yeah, I start getting wedding meetings and it's definitely slower because I don't have to be outside as much working. And then I'll do some wreaths in the some fall wreaths, and I'll do some Christmas wreaths. I try not to do too many because I
Yeah.
want to enjoy some time of the year. But yeah, kind of by request, or I'll try to do them in a batch, so I'm not having to like. I've done it before where I've just taken the orders one at a time, and that seems to be more time consuming because you're not
Right.
setting a chunk
Yeah.
of time to harvest and do all the different things. And
So your child is now 6. It's your son, right?
yeah,
Is
he
is
is.
he having the childhood that you had? Is he helping you on the farm
He
or
is.
the farm?
Yeah, right. He really is. I would say he doesn't. He hasn't gotten into. I feel like we were, farm kids where it was like you're gonna help a little bit, and then we would go and play in the dirt for a while. And he has that. He's not quite in as much. I feel like he's just turning a corner where he's really interested in helping with certain things. I let him kind of have his own little. He likes to do sunflowers, which I like some sunflowers, but I've only ever done like a small section of them. But he has taken over the full sunflower piece of it. So
I love it.
he's Yeah, he's got his section in a scarecrow that it's funny, he dressed it with his own clothes. So we go into the garden, we're like, Lincoln? And then it's,
Do you think he'll take sunflowers to the farmer's market with you and try to sell them?
he does. He's actually been selling his own, he calls them kids arrangements. So we'll
Oh,
get a little, like a plastic vase to put them in. And then he'll put his own little kids arrangements together. And then last year he asked if he could have his own stand. So I found like a little, it's like a little kitchen on Amazon. And he's turned that into his flower stand. So now that he's done with school and camp and stuff, he comes and he'll put his arrangements together. And last week he made 5 and he sold all 5, so he was very happy. So he
what's he selling them
he's
for?
loving it. $5. Yeah, he asked to change it to $6, but we told him that the $5 is a nice round dollar amount for people. But he was thinking about that inflation.
I love it. Well, this has been so much fun. I'm excited to show your videos and share a little bit more about where you farm and how you design. And I just love the way you've built this creative floral enterprise around your lifestyle. It fits your family life. It gets you away from the keyboard, the computer, the desk where you originally were. And I think it's a I can see you doing this for many, many years to come. I mean, this is your life now, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I love doing it. I love just being out in the garden. It's like the perfect balance of being able to be with my family and my kids and still getting something like I always have to have a creative outlet. So it's
Mm.
wonderful to have that and get my hands dirty and work in the dirt.
The best thing that could happen is if Sophia moved back home with you and you guys could work together. But maybe that'll happen in the future. Who knows, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, that would be like so much fun. I already know we would. Well, we get into trouble. I'll tell you one more thing about Sophia. She does pottery. This whole backsplash that's back here, it's probably not super clear. They're small blueberry tiles that she made for me, uh, and then I tiled the whole thing with those blueberry tiles. That's the kind of stuff that we get into. Is like projects that nobody would try to take on. It's like, what are we thinking? So yeah. So
That's
anyway,
such an reflection of a creative person. Like you want to embellish every surface in your environment, whether it's practical or not. I love that.
yeah, yeah.
It is pretty. I would love to see a more detailed photo of those tiles, but what a gorgeous installation that you did. And thank you, sister.
Yes, right? Yeah. But yeah, that's an example. So anybody who's out there who needs like a little boost, you've got to find somebody who just, maybe it's not the most practical, but they'll help inspire you to find the thing.
I love it. Erin, thank you so much. It's so great to talk to you and share your story with the Slow Flowers community. And I will encourage people to come over to slowflowerspodcast.com. I think it's episode 723, and you'll be able to see the videos and more photos that Erin has shared and all her links so you can find and follow her social places. And if you happen to go to Tulip Time, maybe you can take one of the bracelets and bouquets workshops. That sounds wonderful.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I appreciate you having me on, and I love the whole concept. Yeah, this just fun, just listening, and I also, yeah, got your book too, The Flower Farmers over there. So, yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
so,
Thank you
yep.
so much, Erin. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.
All right, thank you. Bye. So I have a few sections of peonies, and here's one of them. And I kind of just place them where I can, since they are my little one and done perennials. So here are some peonies, and I actually am about to harvest some of these ones because they are about ready to pop. So look at that one. But this is one of my other peony beds. I have some more specialty colors over here, like the coral charm. Another section of a perennial bed. So in here I do have some stuff planted, but I really need to clean it up. I haven't done that over the winter yet, so that's next on my list. In this section right here are some astilbe, which have been wonderful little cut flowers all backed there. So, and then I have some hellebore. These are some new ones right over here. And then I've actually got, looks like a little straggler coming up here, which is kind of beautiful. It's got a little straggler hellebore, and then this is my older patch hellebore. Because what I like about this section is it gets over here. This is like the shadier spot, and as we come over, there's more and more sun. So then we get more and more sun over here. So then these get, I wouldn't say full sun, but they get, I would say, I mean, the perfect amount of sun for these guys. So like 6 hours, and then, but it's not too hot where they're drooping. So this is actually a really nice spot. And I just planted some yellow peonies right over here. Again, I need to, and they're just starting to come up because I got them bare root, so that'll fill in this little area. And I have mulch to put down in this whole section. I have some lilies in crates going over here, and then I have some more like little irises coming up right here. Again, these are just little things I like to have in the ground to cut from when I need extra things. And then in here I have my little mini greenhouse. I do a lot of my seed starting in here. A few things I still have to get in the ground going on. So this is the entrance to my annual cutting garden. So if we go in here, this front section, I have some different crates that I have stuff in. So I've got Lysianthus back here, then some stock, a little bit of straw flower, and some China aster. More China aster over here, and a few lilies. I've got my rose bushes. So we go over here, I have some status planted, whole bunch of zinnias here. Some stuff I just seeded, so some cosmos and more more zinnias and straw flower and amaranthus. Over here I've got my little hoop house, which I have some different things in. I tried some ranunculus in here, still working on it. We've got a few little stragglers coming up, but it's starting to get hot, so they're not staying quite as well. But yeah, I've got some stock that's looking decent over here. A few lizzies I need to weed around, and then I even have some chrysanthemums in here, among other things. I kind of just, it's all sporadic. So yeah, and then over here I've got sweet peas growing along the fence, so along the backside I have some that are starting as well, but these ones do the best over here. Then as we go over here, I can kind of show you some more status, just at different stages. Some cosmos over in this area. Here are some of my raised beds. In the raised beds we have Italian petunias, China aster in here, more China aster. I've got China aster in stock and a little bit of gomphrena. Over here we have more straw flower. Some nicotania here. So this section that I just kind of showed you all of this, this is an area that I still will till up, but these are kind of my annuals that I'll either transplant or I will start from seed, all in this area. And then over here is my, I call it my kind of my no-till area, where I'll do some stuff that I'll either plant really early spring, or I'll even try doing some in the fall. For example, this is all some feverfew that came back from last year. Or here, this is a better one. Some feverfew that is coming up back from last year. And then I did these poppies early, or late in March, early spring. We have yarrow over here, some delphinium in this row right here, Canterbury bells, and then I had a mole kind of come through and eat a bunch, or pull a bunch of them up, so then I'm kind of planting in between those. It's more feverfew, it's just a little lagging behind, and then some scabiosa and some, and we have some snapdragons over here. And then I also planted eucalyptus, which I'm going to try to overwinter, which is, they're just little, but we'll see if we can get them to overwinter this year. I'll probably put something over the top of them to try to help them along. One thing I do that is kind of fun is I'll do gladiolas all along the fence, and then I'll just do some stuff, easy stuff like corn cockle, where I'll just put seeds down and then let them go. And then I actually put a lot of forget-me-nots along here, so those should be coming up somewhat soon. Okay, and then we have the dahlias, which are all over here. So here are my dahlias. They're just starting. I just put tubers in the ground. I started planting about partway through April, and then I've kind of just, whenever I could, planted more. So these ones are I started here and then kind of worked my way that way. And then I have more dahlias here, but they're still coming up and I need to weed in between. So my plan for these is to add straw, and then as I go I'll weed and add straw along to help with weed management. But yeah, still need to work on that, but that's just how it goes. Yeah, this is my cutting garden. I still have gladiolas all along the back fence, and that's kind of some area I still need to work on, but yeah, that's what I've got here. My name is Erin Webb. I'm with Florista West Olive, and this is my garden where we are set up today. And what we're going to do is a bowl arrangement. So here is kind of the bowl that I will be arranging in. My little sister actually made this bowl because she is an artist, so I thought it would be fun to incorporate that. She also made this vase, which I use for my flower subscriptions. So we will go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I do is I get some chicken wire. We are trying to stay foam free around here. So I just kind of crumple this up into a little ball about the shape of my bowl, and I stick it in here. Now if I was going to do a wedding or something like that, then I would also do some tape on the top to transport it. So there's waterproof tape that you can get, and I would tape it I do a little cross and then put a piece on the side. Next thing I do is I put a little flower food in here. And then I add my water. So I like to start with my greenery, because then I can decide. It's going good? Thanks, buddy. My son's behind the camera, so he is helping me out. So I like to use that to start my arrangements as I get my shape going with that. So this is a little short of a table because we're outside. I usually like to have a counter height one when I'm designing if possible, since I am a little taller, but this will do in a pinch. So just kind of placing some of these greens around. We always want to keep our stems clean before we add them in, to keep the flowers as fresh as possible, so there's no extra stuff getting into our water to cause more bacteria, which causes the flowers to wilt. As you know that I'm using, and this does tend to need some time to kind of perk up, and I just cut this, so if it's looking a little droopy, that's why, but maybe after it's been in the vase I'll take a little picture of it too. So it'll droop, but it'll perk right back up, not straight up or anything, but at least a little less droopy than it is now. Yeah, and I love doing this arrangement. We do a little event called Bracelets and Bouquets in the spring. It's a Mother's Day event, and this is the type of arrangement that I do for that. It's something just a little smaller, something easy to transport, but also can teach foam-free techniques, and something that people can reuse later. Next thing I want to do is put some of my focal flowers in. These are lilies. They're a double lily, oriental lily, and they'll actually open in the vase. This one started. Some of the other ones are still a little bit closed. They just weren't quite ready for this, but we are going to carry on anyways, since they'll open up. But especially for a delivery arrangement, I would arrange them this way.
Obviously, if they're talking wedding work or anything like that, we're not going to have them, you know, depending on the day, we'll want them open for the event. But for something that, as I'll get delivery orders, so for something like that, this would be totally fine to have them closed in bud form. It's a little easier to transport to, and then they get the longest vase life out of it. So I think I'm gonna do 3 of these lilies. I want to keep these ones shorter for this particular design. Even though we do get nice long stems with these, even longer than this when we cut them. Yeah, I just kind of want them to be on the side, I think. So I'm going to continue with my Baptisia, just adding a few stems of that in here. So I'm liking that. The nice part is too, if you have some bits of greenery, you can even kind of add those in or save those for the end to see where it could use fill in to cover up mechanics, anything like that. Yeah, it is pretty warm out here too, so this oregano is definitely going to need some time. So it's a little droopy now, but again, that will perk back up in the vase. I'm liking that shape. I love to do a more organic shaping. I think there's room, obviously there's a place for symmetrical design, but for me personally, I love having something that's not completely symmetrical and is just interesting in multiple different spots. So kind of fun, but of course we love symmetry when the time is right. It depends for me, for weddings especially, it just depends on the bride and groom, but if I get to just do something where I get creative freedom, definitely like to vary the shaping a little bit. So these I pulled off of another stem like this, but still great to use, kind of these shorter stems to fill in some areas. And again, this little bit of droop will go away once it hydrates up a little bit and we get it out of the heat. So I will put this in the cooler and take some pictures of it once it's perked back up. Add in. Right now I'm adding yarrow. So I don't think I said that before. So pretty different colored yarrow. I'm loving the color palette today. Turn this. Work on this side a little. Kind of building up different sides here. Kind of like to move around, get some new perspective. Like that one tall. Loving this feverfew. I've grown it last year, but didn't really have too much results. A lot of it came back, which was really cool. And those are my best stems, so definitely want to get some more in there and see if it, you know, will come back kind of like yarrow does the next year. It's always a little better, so we'll see what we do. Michigan's kind of unpredictable with what the winter does. Making sure we have clean stems going into the water. I've got a little tied up here, but I just kind of take my hand, run it down the stem, and get all the leaves off. Some are easier than others. All right, let's go with our stock. We have a few stems of pink stock, which I think will be a cute little prop. I want to go over here. Which usually we'll cut them when it's cooler in the morning, just to make sure everything is ready to go. And next, so that was all my stock. So next, I just want to add a few Iceland poppies. Right. We'll do all three on the side. That would be pretty. This guy still needs to open up. Okay. So next we have some Canterbury bells. I kind of like these being longer, kind of with our poppies. Simply in here. This maybe on that side, but a little shorter. I love these, they're so pretty. Yeah, I'm definitely learning with these, growing them. I have a mole kind of take a bunch of them and just shove them in a hole, so hopefully next year we will get, order some plugs and do some fall planted, and also try to, I'm actually just about to start some seeds to try for our fall planting. They just do so much better around here with being planted in the fall and overwintering. And we even had a cold winter, and I know another farmer who said theirs did really well this year, so that will be yeah, my goal for next year for the Canterbury bell. So I just have some more of these shorty stems. I added these ones kind of lower, which is kind of pretty. So it's also something nice if you do get something that has shorter stems, you can still use it in one of these little smaller arrangements. Just a nice little filler piece and ties everything in. Alright, so we are kind of nearing the end where the next thing I want to do, again, like we've got some floppiness that will perk up as this sits in the vase and if I put it in the cooler. But the last thing I want to add is I have these little paper daisies I'm going to add in here. Super cute, just kind of adding some of more that pink in here. Yeah, that's another thing is I really try to pay attention even with my farmers market bouquets and obviously wedding ones, but you're kind of, you know, it's that one you just kind of have to pay attention to what the bride wants, or groom, for color, but for the stuff where I get to pick, I feel like color is so important. It's like flowers are going to look pretty, but I think what you put them with kind of makes all the difference. When arranging, I always am partial to like pinks and yellows, but I really do try to branch out and use some of the other colors in my arrangements, but this is like right up my wheelhouse, so better get these going because it is getting hot and I don't think these flowers are loving it, but that's what we get for doing this in the middle of the day. A few spots. I think I'm going to put one more lily. So now we have 5 instead of 3 lilies, but kind of like that. Okay, just add in a couple more pieces of this. Again, it's getting hot out here, so they're starting to droop, but I will get some final pictures after this has kind of sat a minute and rehydrated.
Can you get this chair out of the way? Get this chair out of the way. Can you get this chair out of the way? Can you get this